As we mentioned earlier, our special guest is Tony Hernandez, author of the new book, The Autism Unscripted Life. Again, welcome, Tony.
Thank you so much.
And if I may first offer some basic background on autism from Wikipedia. Autism is a developmental disorder characterized by difficulties with social interaction and communication, and by restricted and repetitive behavior, usually noticed during the first 3 years. Autism is associated with a combination of genetic and environmental factors. 1/3 experience inability to meet daily communication needs. There is repetitive behavior, and there is no known cause that has been verified. Tony, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your book, An Autism Unscripted Life, and congratulations on your personal successes.
Thank you so much.
I just read sort of a basic review of what autism is. How do you describe it?
I describe autism as a developmental disorder that it is characterized right now in different levels of functionality, according to the definition set in back in 2013. So, in other words, we have people that are autistic, but it comes in different levels, common challenges, but also different types of challenges. But I see it more, that's according to more of an official definition, but I see it more as a developmental condition. I like to describe it that way.
When did it begin to affect your life?
I was diagnosed with autism at age 3, but it took that was later because they didn't know what was going on with me. Because back then, we're talking about the early 90s, and back then, there was not a lot of information about autism, the cause of autism. So they were saying like different things to my parents as to what I had. But they were able to describe that I was diagnosed with autism at age 3, and as a result, I have some of the challenges that are coming with other people in the spectrum, but also different challenges. One of those common challenges was that was nonverbal until the age 4. I have struggles with social communication, struggles with relationship building with other people, trying to connect with others, understand what they did, what they were doing. Issues with, obviously I have, repetitive behavior, short-term working memory, and many other challenges.
But do you remember all of that as you look back? Do you remember the problems you started to have at 4 years old?
When I was a child, I remembered that I have struggles in being able to connect with other people. I was trying to understand, especially in school, what the other kids were doing, why they were doing what they were doing, and I was trying to integrate trying to join in and be friends with other people. But they didn't understand the way that I behave, and that created a lot of misconceptions, which created a lot of different types of situations. For example, rejection, and sadly, cases of bullying and other types of situations that lasted throughout my school life.
Well, it obviously had to be an awful experience growing up with that and not knowing really what it was and how to address it. But I'm so impressed with your positive attitude and your successes. How have you achieved those?
Well, through perseverance, an ongoing effort. I had to create an independent mindset from the beginning, to not to depend on others, and find a way to make things happen from very early. Persevere and make sure that I didn't let whatever was happening to me back then, because I didn't find out about autism until age 14.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you were totally in the dark about your own self for 10 years.
Yes. But the problem is that there was not a lot of information. There was a lot of confusion. Even to my parents, they told them different, like
I am sure.
contradiction, like conflicting reports.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do.
And how did they interact with you?
During my time in childhood, it was a regular, relationship between siblings. We used to play and everything, but we went through some difficulties too. Because because there was not a lot of knowing what was going on with me
Right.
because I was being different and all that. But overall, my siblings overall was a big
Actually,
relationship.
that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Talk about the decision to write the book.
I made this decision back in 2017.
How old were you back then? 'Cause,
2017?
yeah,
27.
you're very young.
Now I'm 29. I don't feel like it, to be honest with you, but but that's just me. But I made this decision as the reason for it because I wanted to share my story of difficulty and struggles, but more important, how to share the story of how I was able to overcome those struggles, how I was able to overcome those challenges as a person in the spectrum. And that's when I made the decision of writing the book, to share my story, not to just share it and just to say that I'm special or unique or anything. The reason for it was to fulfill a mission that I decided to take on since at least 2014, which is to help others that are in the autism spectrum of all functionality levels achieve a better quality of life.
No, I think you're in a perfect position to do that because of your own success in overcoming the issues.
Yes, because each person in the spectrum and other disabilities have the capability of achieving a better life. Is that we, as a society, we need to be more open to those that are different and give them the opportunities to achieve a better life.
Sounds like you're describing the book, and that's what I was going to ask. How would you describe your approach to the book and the content?
Well, it was difficult at first because I had to go back from childhood
Right.
all the way to now. It was a struggle to get all those memories, some memories that were good, like my hobbies. When I was a kid, I liked to play video games, go do artwork, do drawings and Star Wars and all that stuff. Those were like my like I was escaping my doing an escape to my
Right.
own world, but also going to the to the very most difficult times of my life in school and other areas of life, and going through all of that, it was very difficult, but at the same time, my goal was to make sure that I put it all together towards fulfilling that mission, to let others know, let society know that people with autism and other disabilities have a mission, and that we need to do everything as possible as a society to open the doors for them, so that way they can achieve a better quality of life.
What counseling would you offer others affected and parents and the rest of us in terms of addressing autism?
My advice, and this will go to the entire community, including self-advocates, families, schools, organizations, is to let us stop putting limitation into people, with autism and other disabilities, because that's one of the things that is affecting us negative, in a very negative
Sure.
way. Let's continue to unite. Focus, let's start looking at it as something that is like a death wish, basically. Not a death wish, but something like the end of the world, basically. Let's realize that, hey, despite these difficulties, despite the struggles, we need to do more towards helping that child, which will eventually become an adult, to achieve a better life, which I believe each person in the spectrum can, regardless of the functionality level.
Very impressive, and quite frankly, we all hope that you're absolutely right. What are your plans and goals for the future?
Well, my goal is to continue to fulfill my main mission of life, which is to do autism. I call it autism purpose. As there's not, you hear about autism awareness or autism acceptance or different terms. I have combined them all into one. I think as a community, not only as a community, but also society, we always need to be focusing on these four. Acceptance, which means accepting people with autism as capable members of making significant contribution. Awareness. Create awareness about the issues and challenges that people with autism face. 2, acceptance. Accept people with autism as capable members of making a difference in society. 3, having a commitment with the autism community to providing better resources, better programs. And 4, and most important, action now. Not in a couple years, but 9 to if they find a cure or anything like that, now.
No.
So those are the 4 pillars, which I called autism purpose. This is not only as a community, but also as a society. If we go by those 4 pillars, then we can do much more towards helping people with autism and other disabilities.
With the book and with your experience, I would assume that you are starting to get calls for presentations and lectures and group in front of groups to tell your story.
Yes, that's correct. That's been nonstop, especially since yesterday.
Okay.
But I've done presentations before in Florida through different organizations that provide services to people with autism. So I'm currently doing presentations. Going back to your question, my goal is to continue to fulfill that mission, be able to reach out as many people as possible, not only here in Puerto Rico, but throughout the world. And that's my main mission.
Absolutely, and congratulations, and the best in terms of fulfilling that mission. Now, maybe the most important question. How can somebody get your book?
Right now, as of now, it's available on Amazon. As of now.
Can you say the title again, please? Read it?
Again, the book is An Autism Unscripted Life, and I also have it in Spanish called Una Vida Autista Sin Libreto.
Tony, I really congratulate you also. I think you're the best possible spokesperson for autism. I mean, we're conversing a little bit before the show and during the show, and just the way you manage yourself and you construct your thoughts, it's wonderful. And I'm very impressed, and I learned a lot about autism today. Actually, I wanted to ask you about Asperger. We hear that word a lot. Is that part of the autism spectrum?
Okay, what happened was it was an autism, spectrum disorder. But right now, since 2013, the American Psychology Association, I don't know if that's the right organization, they redefined autism into a spectrum. So they eliminated the term Asperger's, which would be our high-functioning autism. And right now, everything is under one umbrella.
Okay.
That's
To
interesting.
be honest with you, it still creates confusion because
Obviously, yeah.
because you hear people say Asperger's to this very day, but right now officially
There's no more.
well, for me there is, but officially there's the